What's up guys, it's me Jake here, and today I'm going to be talking about a series I've yet to talk about on this channel, but I have talked about it on my Instagram as I did make a poll about this series quite a while ago, about if I should make a video on this series or another series, which I think this won the poll, but I actually technically made it on Witch Watch first, so I'm sorry about that, but today I'm finally making the video that you guys have been anticipating about Boys Abyss. Now, I'm going to be starting this video off saying it's a very dark series that I don't think Viz will actually publish, since it is made by Shueisha. It is a Young Jump title, but I don't think Viz will actually ever publish this in English, as it deals with a lot of themes of suicide, and it has a lot of sex in it that is shown, so I don't think they'll even put this in their seg line, but that's what I'm just going to be saying right off the bat. And if you're not into the series kind of like Shuzo Oshimi works, you probably won't like these, as it's a very dark, kind of Shuzo Oshimi-esque story that I think follows those roots very well. I think it is a very good written, a very well written story, shall I say. Yeah, that's all I have to say about this right now, and let's just get straight into the video. So, for a little bit of a synopsis for Boys Abyss, basically we follow this kid named Reiji, and he lives in this small town where everyone kind of knows each other and kind of talks to each other, and he's a very depressed kid, as it's not that great of a town. Everyone is kind of depressed in this town and really wants to get out of it, but cannot find a way out of it. Until one day, Reiji meets this girl named Nagi, who he later on finds out to be someone very, very special. And she kind of talks to him, and she kind of makes him think about suicide, and if it's really a good option to get out of life and to finally get out of this town. So she recommends a lover's suicide, which is something that is special to this town, as there's a spot where something happened called a lover's suicide, where two people committed suicide together who were destined to not be able to love each other, but were in love with each other, so they committed suicide to become one. And basically it follows the story of Reiji really contemplating if he really wants to fully go through with suicide. And seeing this story as it develops, all the twists and turns that go into this story, it's very interesting to see how the writer kind of continues with the story without making it feel repetitive, without making it feel dull, because every single twist and turn can hit. And there's even these panels where I can show right now, I can try to find a panel and put it right here, and if I don't, wow, I look like a loser, but basically, these panels of these people really desperate and really hating their lives and depressed, and it's just a lot of words, and I will be very honest, this manga can be wordy at times, and it's really showing how this town can affect people's lives. I will say, it really is a great series. I really do like the writing style that this writer uses, as it's kind of a Shuzo Oshimi-esque style, and I really think fits this kind of story. As Shuzo Oshimi does this thing where he can make these weird stories work, and I think this doesn't really have as weird as a Shuzo Oshimi story, but it is still kind of like the darkness and kind of tone that Shuzo Oshimi uses inside most of his stories. I will say, these volumes do look very nice. I have the Japanese volumes, which is up to volume 5, and they look really nice. Hopefully this focuses well. It's the size of a Viz volume, like a normal Viz volume, which is big for a Japanese one. The spine's not focusing, but I don't think that's too special. And even without the slipcover, this thing looks nice. It's like a nice paper texture without the slipcover. It's a very unique non-slipcover, and if you can kind of tell, there's kind of kanji on there. But yeah, enough with the actual volume, and to talk about the actual story. The characters within the story are also great, and it kind of continues the story really well. As I think this story is technically character driven, because a lot of the characters do kind of force things upon the story, and the twists really do come from dialogue instead of the things that the actions these characters do. It's mostly the dialogue that the characters have between each other that are the real twists and turns, and I think that's a really interesting kind of way to do it. I really like how this manga does that, as it kind of makes you feel one with these characters, and it kind of has you more engaged with the story, and you can't really skim through things, because a lot of the things these characters say are really important, because most of the dialogue is pretty important to the overall story. Of course, there's some dialogue you can kind of skim through here, like those panels I showed earlier, but I will say I really liked reading that, because it showed how much these little things in life can really make someone hate it. And I will say I loved this story and how it was written, so I'm going to get off the writing and kind of go into the characters now, as I think the characters are something spectacular. I think Reiji, Chako, Mishiba, Reiji's mom. I think a lot of these characters really do a lot for the story. I think how Reiji sees these characters as he's a dirty human being as the time goes on. He sees himself more and more dirty. Is really interesting. I like the character interactions between everyone. I like seeing how some characters are really involved with some characters. You can't really know until later on, until a big twist hits you, or until one little dialogue speech bubble really twists your view on the character. And seeing a lot of these things really make these characters really blossom as a full-on cast. Even though a lot of them don't like each other, it really does fit, it really does work. And of course, I don't think it's the best cast out there, but I do think it is a very interesting cast for one of these kinds of stories. And I really do like the characters and how they kind of go about their lives in the story. But wow, I gotta say, Reiji as a protagonist for these characters is amazing. I think I love Reiji the most, probably. It's either him or Mr. Escamori, I can never say his name. Both these characters really do a lot within this story. Of course, Reiji's gonna do a lot because he's the protagonist, but Mr. Escamori is really interesting and does a lot for Reiji as well. And I think that's a really great kind of character dynamic they have there. I think it's very interesting. Now, I'm not gonna say something because there's one major thing I could say that's a huge spoiler, but I'm not. But I will say, Boys Abyss is definitely something you should read. And I did think it was going to end at one point. I did think one chapter was the end. I think it was like 59 or something. Happily, it wasn't, because if it was, then that would have been the most wild ending that really didn't make sense and felt super rushed. But of course, it went on after that. Of course, the most recent chapters have just been mind-boggling insane. So definitely check out this manga if you haven't. Yeah, that's enough with the characters. There's no really antagonist about this, so I'm not going to go really in-depth about the antagonist. But I will talk about the art. The art is kind of generic. By that, I mean it's really, really good. Don't get me wrong, it's really good, but as really good art, it kind of feels the same as other manga's art styles, and I think that can really take away some things from the art, but I do think it does pull off those really, really high dramatic scenes very, very well. And I think that this manga really knows when to put a lot of effort into some panels and when to kind of take some effort away from other panels, as this manga really knows how to make these dramatic scenes really hit within the art that I really do enjoy. Now, I'm not going to open the volume I just had because some panels inside this volume can get me demonetized. So because of that, I'm just going to show some manga panels here as I'm talking, and so you can kind of see what I'm saying. Now, hopefully future me isn't stupid, like editing me isn't stupid, and I kind of blur out the words in case there is any spoilers within the text. But my god, this art really does hit at times. I think that it does have a kind of uniqueness and genuineness to it, but of course I do think there are times where I feel like it's kind of the same as some other series, but that does not take away from how amazing this art style really is. I think that Boys Abyss has some of the best art as of more recent. Even though I did say it kind of is generic, I think it is very good at times. And because of those times where I think it's very good, I think it really impacts the story a lot, and I really do enjoy seeing when Boys Abyss has this amazing art, and when it shows and depicts these characters so well, and it has these great facial expressions within these cast and within the characters. I really love it. And as of recently, I really love how they're drawing Reiji because he is so interesting. I love to see how the manga kind of changes with him. I really do like that. So I will say the art in the series is amazing. I highly love this art style. I definitely think the manga should probably continue making manga after this, since, you know, some mangas have one big series, which I think Boys Abyss is actually pretty big in Japan. They have one big series and they kind of fade out and don't make more manga. But I would love to see either Boys Abyss get an anime, which I highly don't think will happen because of the context and everything within the story. But of course it definitely might, because Redo of Healer is a thing and does actually have an anime. So I would not be surprised if Boys Abyss does get an anime, and also Interspecies Reviewers is an anime. So not be surprised if Boys Abyss does. Hopefully this manga does make another series after this, because I feel like I would love to see them on another title making more art, because oh my god, it's so good. But yeah, that's all I have to really say about the art. Now, the last thing I want to talk about Boys Abyss are the themes. I think the themes of the story are pretty strong, as the themes are really dark, and a lot of things that they really do talk about in the series are very, very, very depressing, as suicide is a very depressing kind of topic to talk about, and making a manga basically revolving around suicide, seeing all these characters wanting to commit suicide is a very dark topic and a very dark theme in general. So I think these themes are very dark and very kind of depressing, as a lot of people would probably think, and I think it really does handle these themes pretty well, as it makes the reader actually feel emotion towards these characters, and hoping that they don't actually fully commit to it, because these characters kind of get a hook on you and they kind of be like, yo, I like you, so please don't die. That's kind of the emotion that the readers kind of get. Of course, some characters I really don't like in this series, and I really don't like, I'll be honest. There's like 1 or 2 characters that I'm like, okay, now leave the story, please. But the rest, I really want to see kind of have a happy life in the end. And I really hope to see these characters have a happy ending, even though the themes in that side of this story are so dark that I think it would be very difficult to handle a happy ending for all of these characters. But of course, there is something that could happen to make all these characters have happy endings. There's a lot of things that can make it so these characters don't have happy endings, so I'm just hoping it is not the latter, and it is the start of that, because a lot of these characters I really do enjoy, and I really hope that they finally get the happiness they deserve after living in this super depressing town that makes them all really not want to live, because it's just sad to see all these characters you like not happy in general. So I'll say the themes of this story are very dark and definitely not for the faint of heart. I definitely will say a lot of people probably will go into the series being like, oh, it's called Boys Abyss, it has the word boys, or in Japanese shonen is in the title. It's gonna be super happy, it won't be sad at all. No, it's depressing. I'll be very honest, it's very sad. So if you're going into it with that mindset, I will definitely say you're going into it with the wrong mindset. But that's really all I have to say about Boys Abyss. I really do enjoy it. I definitely rate it like an 8.5 out of 9. Of course, it kind of falters a bit in one little like 5 to 10 chapter part, but I do think other than that, it's great. I definitely highly recommend Boys Abyss for those people who like Shuzo Oshimi or just like those depressing titles in general. But that's all I have to say for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope I see you guys next time. Peace!